Hey guys, Josh from Matt Chocolate here. I'm gonna show you how to make a drawing with this square stencil. It's just cut out of paper. I just cut out a square. It's pretty old, but I just use it over and over again. The other side I use white on it. So I'm gonna do a portrait, and it's gonna come out like almost pixelated, like with the squares, like you can see in the thumbnail probably. I'm gonna use pan pastel. This is the pan pastel, and this is the soft palette knife that comes with it. I'm going to use a kneaded eraser. And probably this blending stump, or dirty old blending stump, paper towel, and some compressed charcoal, maybe a compressed charcoal pencil or something like that, right? Let me sharpen that a little bit. Okay, so I'll put the reference up in the description of this video for the actual reference that I'm using, but you could use any reference you want. I'm going to start off with just making the bottom part of the portrait. So I have the portrait, the drawing kind of right here in front of me. I'm working on an easel on 18 by 24 Strathmore drawing paper. So let's get right into it. I'm going to draw, basically use up a lot of the size of the paper in sort of the middle for the bottom of the face. Looks like I'll have the nose right about here. Then the lips should start right about there. Bottom of the lips there. And we'll go even lower for the chin. Right around there. I need to just establish kind of where everything's going to be. I don't have to be too detailed, but I want everything to relate to each other just nicely and not to look weird or awkward or off. So I'm going to spend most of the time just trying to make sure that I have the right angles and the right proportion of everything. I'm using the edge of the pan pastel so I could create my tone. And pressing softer or loading the pan pastel with less pastel, or loading the soft palette knife with less pastel so that I can control the lightness or darkness of the tones that I'm using. It looks like this whole section of the portrait and the photo is in darkness, so I'm just going to kind of let that bleed out. I'm not going to be too detailed in this area, and I'm going to make this section of it here a little bit darker here, and it's going to fade out a little bit so that kind of looks like this part's in light because I'm juxtapositioning it with this darkness of the outside, right? It looks like the neck starts around here, so kind of put that there. I'm going to draw only a little bit of the shoulders and the neck because I don't want it to just be like a floating head. I want it to kind of look like a person is standing there. That'll help me with that effect. I'm establishing tone as I work, as I establish my proportions at the same time. Sometimes you might need to sketch before you do that. Otherwise, if you practice it enough, you're able to establish both those things at the same time. But it's not that easy. I'm going to let it fade out. I'm not going to worry too much anything about above the nose. I'm just going to let it fade out like that. I'll just keep working on this part. There's a shirt that this person's wearing, but I'm not going to put too much emphasis on that. Just going to kind of have that fade out like that. Cool. All right, now time to start adding some details in the facial features. Now I'm happy with where most things are. Looks like there's part of the lip there. Part of that there. I'm being pretty quick with it, kind of rough, because I like the expressive look. I prefer a little bit more over just the realism. You can spend as much time as you want, really getting the realism on the piece down. I prefer to just kind of have it a little bit expressive, a little bit mysterious, a little bit rough. It tends to add a little bit more character and a little bit more emotion to the piece. now I'm using a kneaded eraser to just kind of erase some highlights and start to establish some of the lights where the light is hitting. Make sure you're subtle with it. Make sure you're not too harsh with the lights. Otherwise it starts to just look like a black and white, no gray image, which makes it look a little stale, a little boring, a little bit unlively. And it's done a little too harsh. So I feel like that's what I'm doing a little bit too much of. So I'm gonna bring my paper towel and just kind of fade everything back out. Just a little bit. Kind of keep adding just small amounts of this light section. A little bit of reflected light there. Looks like I have a little bit too much for this chin showing. We cut down just slightly. Right there. Right there. Let's blend that part out. Just kind of keep pushing and pulling these values. Seems to me that this is coming out a little too far, so I'm going to cut it down. Chewy. Sorry, that's my dog. He thinks he hears something. Okay. I think I'm going a little too far out with this nostril there, so I'm going to bring that in just slightly. There we go. And there's a little bit of a highlight, not a highlight, but a little bit of light, reflected light hitting here on the other side of the chin, the other side of the cheek, and the other side of the nose here. Cool. And some reflected light at the bottom of that nostril there. And I think I went a little too far up with this part here, so I'm going to pull that back down. Okay, cool. So I'm thinking we're getting a pretty cool, like, side lit portrait effect. And it looks to me like we're almost ready to start adding those squares. So let's grab that square. And I'm going to just take some of the pan pastel. You could even do it with another type of material. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to put the stencil down where I see a lot of darkness and kind of merge all of that darkness into this square stencil so that it kind of blends into the drawing, half blends. You can kind of get creative with where you want to place these, you see. And then I'm going to add it a little bit here on where the side of that shadow outside of the face goes, but I'm not going too far in so I can leave some of that light there as well. And add another one here just to kind of make it look like it's fading out. This one's going to go counter to the light of the face, so it's going to break into that light of the face. And I'm going to overlap it with the other one a little bit. And this one here looks like it's, I could just use all of that tone that's in there and then add it to this square there so that it kind of looks like it's coming out of that. This section here can overlap as well. Cool, and then we just kind of don't get too crazy with these. You want to keep them at a minimum. If you have too many of them, it starts to look like a cluttered mess and you lose the desired effect of like the pixelation kind of fading out. So I have one there, and I'm gonna have one deep in here with the darker. I'm loading the pastel more, so I'll have it darker here. Still not loaded enough. There we go. Kind of in there. So that'll kind of keep that effect going. Let's see, I want this one It looks a little lonely, so I'm gonna overlap it here. Like that. Nice little transparent effect. I'll make one up here. Let's make this one nice and light. Since it's far, theoretically, something that's far like that's pixelated should fade out a little nicer. And let's see here, where can we add another one? We've got about 9 of them right now. Maybe one more down here would be okay. We'll make this one very dark. You know what? I don't think it's a good idea. I'm gonna add it to this one to make it a long one. That's how we'll keep it. Yeah, there we go. We'll blend those together a little bit. We got a cool little nice block there going. Kind of juxtapositions the hard, rough edge or the hard edges of the square and the soft, more organic edges of the face. So now it has a nice effect of it floating out of there, right? That's pretty much how I make these portraits. You could really get creative with it. You can fade it down, or and only complete the top of the face, or just kind of add it to the portraits that you draw. I've tried other shapes and stuff like that, and I don't think it looks as nice as just the simple square. This, I would say it's about, the size of this is about 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches each side. Mostly even sides, at least as even as you can get it. But that's how I draw these. See, I didn't even use anything else except for this pan pastel and a kneaded eraser besides the stencil. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this helped a bit.